Hey everybody, it's your girl Darshell Lynette, and welcome to the Raw, the Real, the Me Chapter Baby J podcast. So, some of you are wondering, why am I starting a podcast at this time in my life right now? What's going on as to why I feel like I need to start another podcast? Well, I have gone through therapy, my first round, as I said, because I feel like that I'm probably going to be a person that consistently does therapy because it is a part of your health, your overall health. And so for me, I want to be able to have a therapist that I can go to, at least once or twice a month, just to kind of do check-ins and stuff like that when things kind of get overwhelming for me and stuff like that. And I want to share some of those, experiences and stuff with you. And the reason why I'm starting the podcast up, another reason why, is a lot of you now know, if you've been following me in the socialverse, that I experienced a miscarriage in 2017. So I became pregnant in 2016 and miscarried in 2017. So at that time, I actually probably maybe a year or so afterwards, or somewhere close to a year afterwards, I tried to start a podcast. Well, I had not gone through therapy the way I did this time. I had only had maybe 3 sessions that I really did not. One was definitely not an actual full session at all. The other 2 were basically trying to get to know the therapist, so it just didn't work for me at that point in time. It was kind of, I don't know, I can't say a waste of time, but I knew that that wasn't what it was supposed to be for me to be able to help me, start healing or whatever. And so I tried to do the podcast because everybody was saying, you should talk about it because you're a talker and stuff, which I am, a person who loves to talk and communicate with people. I love doing that. I love hearing perspectives of other people. It just intrigues me. And so I said, okay, I'm listening to everybody else, and I tried the little therapy thing and it didn't really work. So let's try this. Tried to do it, and it completely just devastated me over and over again every time I started talking about it. And I was like, okay, this is not going to work. And I got discouraged because nobody was really watching the podcast or listening to it. I didn't do a video that time. I actually just did it talking and posted it, and I got very few views. And so I was like, okay, I was very, I felt rejected at that point again and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm gonna stop. I'm not going to do it. And I tried to do another podcast, which about politics and stuff like that, which I actually had a lot of great ideas for, but I didn't have the time to consistently do it at that point in time. So this time I was like, okay, write out a contact calendar, get everything scheduled, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And of course, I got discouraged again because the day that I was supposed to be recording last week, something happened, and then I ended up I forgot I had a funeral that I had to go to in a different state on Saturday. And so it was just a whole bunch going on. And then I had a guest that I was supposed to be recording with, and I ended up getting off work late. It was just a lot of stuff. So I was like, I don't want to do it again. And this time I actually stuck to my guns and decided to push through and say, hey, you know what? I said I was going to do this. I'm a woman of my word. I want to be a woman of my word all the time. And so I'm going to do it. And so you're getting it a day later than I am going to normally be doing it, but you're going to get it. So I want to get my thoughts out in the socialverse about miscarriage, especially after 40. Being a person who wanted to have more children and then was excited that I actually was pregnant again. The relationship didn't work, obviously, but I was like, okay, I pretty much raised my first daughter, on my own, or as a single mother. I was a single mother, not on my own, because obviously I had a lot of help with my family and stuff like that. But I was determined. I'm like, hey, 20 years older, better place financially, I'll be great. And then the miscarriage happened and I was completely devastated. And so those thoughts and feelings are something that you can never plan for. You just have to kind of experience it. And because I was able to experience it and go through, I want to be able to share those thoughts with everyone. So if you know someone who has experienced miscarriage, or if you are a woman who is going through or has recently experienced or has one in a previous times experienced a miscarriage, then you can know that you're not alone. And then there are things that, you may not want to talk about. I'm open to talk about it now because I've gone through therapy, and it has helped me to be able to navigate talking about it without getting depressed and just like it taking me to a very low place. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast over again. Y'all know I got notes, so got my trusty planner with my notes in here. And so this also why I'm starting at this time. The anniversary of me losing my baby was 5 years ago. So on the 6th of February 2017, I actually started having the miscarriage, and they couldn't do the surgery that day. So this was happening over a period of a whole 24 hours because the surgery was not scheduled until the next day. So I had to walk around in that, knowing that this is happening. And I just was, again, my headspace was all over the place at that point in time. And I didn't really have anyone to talk to at that point in time about it, because the people that I knew that had a miscarriage were fine with it because they didn't want to have a child. So that was, I was like, okay. So I felt very alone because I did want to have a child, and I was in that space, and I was like, okay. So I was like, well, now that I've gone through therapy and I'm in a better headspace to be able to talk about some things, then this is the perfect time to start it up. So that's why I started it now. Also, I wanted to get my opinion out in the social verse about things that are just going on, in my life as a 44-year-old woman living in Oklahoma City, Christian, who loves God. And I have a lot of different thoughts, obviously, about different things. And I'm growing up in the church. There are things that I have experienced that some people are like, what in the world? Like, it's just foreign to them. And to me, it was normal. It was things that I thought everybody did always. Like growing up, I thought everybody went to church all the time on Sundays. I didn't think that was not an option. I didn't think that was it. Well, for me, it was an option. Let's say that. But I didn't know that most of the world probably does not go to church on Sundays. And so I was like, when I, became an adult and had the option to be able to not go, I was like, what is this? It felt very strange to me. But I actually do enjoy going to church, not for just hearing the word of God, but I also love the community of church. It is an awesome place to be able to get, again, different perspectives on people's lives, for them, things that they have gone through, their experiences. You can actually talk to them under your faith that you have and some of the same beliefs. It actually helps when you have somebody who has the same, beliefs and morals that you have, going through certain experiences. Then you can say, hey, how do you do, or have you ever experienced this? How did you deal with this? And so I know there's a lot of people that think that way, but a lot of people don't talk about it. Well, I'm here to talk about it. So this is another reason why I started the podcast. And finally, I started the podcast because I am not the person that I was even last year. So let's be it's very different now after having a miscarriage, because before I was not a very emotional person. I was very, like, a lot of people said that I was very cold and stuff like that. Men, women, both, that were close to me, they were like, I never see you really show emotion about anything. And it was more a protection thing for me, a guard for me not to get close to people, because I had been hurt so many times. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to allow people to get that close to me. So if you saw me cry, then you were a person that I felt like I could trust. I just honestly can say I do have some trust issues. I'm trying to work through those. Obviously, as everybody has things that they're trying to work through, but I recognize it, and I know why I have some of the issues. I've, did a lot of self-reflecting over these past 5 years after having the miscarriage, and the things that I thought before that were really important that, affected my life at that point in time. Now I kind of think differently sometimes about some things, and sometimes I'm a little bit more thoughtful of other people. Now I am more emotional, but I still don't show a lot of it necessarily with everybody. I think I am a little bit more moody, which is kind of like, why did I flip out like that? But especially during this time of the year, every year, on the anniversary of the miscarriage, it shows up differently. Some years I'm crying all the time. I feel like deep sadness. Some years I feel like so just alone and disconnected from everything and everybody. And all I want to do is, I just think about my baby. And all I want to do is, I feel like I wish I could hold them. And that doesn't happen. This year, I was like, okay. I felt like I was okay. I did, of course, want to cry at times. I did not cry because I knew if I started crying, I felt like I wouldn't stop crying. So I kind of held that in, but I learned through therapy how to work through those emotions. But I also had people reaching out to me, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, how are you doing? And, hey, what's going on? Are you fine? That type of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I might respond and get nothing. And it was like, why does this keep happening to me? Why is everybody doing this to me this week? It was freaking me out, and it was causing me, I felt like it was causing me stress that I did not need. And so that was a whole situation. So if you saw my story a couple of days back, that was the reason why. It was because everybody kept asking me, was I okay? And then I respond and nobody responds to me. So I was like, I felt like I was being rejected. And we'll talk about that in some later episodes of the pod, about my feelings of rejection now as to how they show up in my life now as to opposed how they did before. So I hope you guys are ready to strap on your belts and all of that stuff and stick with me. We're going to be posting, I'm going to be posting I can say I guess, because some people say I have I know I have another personality when I get upset, y'all. So we will be posting every Friday. Sometime, hopefully I'll be able to post it in the afternoon is my goal, to try to have it posted around 3:30ish or 4, between those hours every Friday. If I don't get it posted on Fridays, it will be posted on Saturdays for sure. But my goal is to do Fridays because I want to be consistent with that. And I have certain days that I'll be able to tape. And so Fridays for posting will be great for me. So hope you guys enjoy everything that you're going to hear, everything that you're going to learn about me and all of my guests that I have on. And I hope you just stick with me. And if you have any questions, you can DM me. reach out, and I obviously will either answer it on the podcast or respond to you if it's not something that I can talk about. I do want to say that because this is a podcast that is from a over 40 individual, be aware that there are times there might be explicit content that is going to be on the podcast that I will tell you is going to be an explicit show. So be aware that there may be times I might have a guest that's on, might be cussing, we might be talking about sex, whatever the case may be. Again, I'm over 40. This is my life. And so if you cannot handle that, be aware. I will let you know ahead of time. You'll know what the show is going to be about. And if there is going to be explicit content included, I will have a disclaimer before the show so you won't be listening to it with your children and stuff around. But make sure you still listen to it if you want to. I would really appreciate that. So I will have the podcast posted on YouTube, Facebook, the Anchor app, where you can listen to the audio of it. If you don't want to listen to or can't watch the video at some point in time, you'll be able to listen to the audio through the Anchor app. And at some point, I'm hoping to get it on Apple Podcasts as well. I don't know about Spotify, y'all, because the way they tripping and such right now, we don't know about that. So we gonna see. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you all. And this is Chapter Baby J. Deuces.